Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel The Israeli. Today we're going to talk about Russell Brand's video interviewing Dr. Gabor Mate, where Russell said he's going to bring two sides of the argument, but so far he has brought only one side of the argument, and I've been waiting a few days to see if he's going to bring another guest, but he didn't. Or at least on YouTube, I haven't seen any new interviews about the subject. So he left it with extreme left-wing view. And when I say extreme, it's really extreme. It's like way out there. I don't think that even Noam Chomsky is really that left-wing like this guy here. And for Russell Brand, this is an objective interview. He doesn't think he needs to bring any other views. This is good enough, which makes me question a lot about Russell Brand and the way that he actually sees things. Because I've been watching his podcast and it's quite interesting. I don't agree with everything, and he seemed to have an open mind. But now I'm not so sure. You know, he brought only one side of the conversation on a very serious, very complex subject and just left it at that. That's it. That's good enough for me. Well, it's not good enough for me. So we're going to go over this interview. I'm not going to go over the whole thing. It's quite a long interview. It's almost 20 minutes. I'm just going to go over a few points and give my take on it. Okay, so let's start from the beginning.
In yesterday's video where I talked about Israel and Palestine, I spoke of my personal feeling that people that aren't directly affected ought remain serene and calm and yield the floor to people that have personal investment and are closely and directly affected by these issues. That's why.
So in the video he made before, that was a good video. He remained mostly objective, mostly neutral. I didn't see any problems with it. That's why I was quite excited to see where he goes with this. And then he brings this guy, which is not even Israeli, so I don't see how he's directly affected or directly involved or has a dog in the fight. The only thing that I can see is that he made a career out of Israel bashing. So yeah, maybe in that sense, this guy really is connected to the whole thing, and with it, he made a career out of it. But he's not Israeli. If I'm not mistaken, he lives in Canada, a wonderful country, which we found out actually did genocide their indigenous population. We just found out 200 dead kids in a school that was found. So, you know, but he prefers living there and defending that country while criticizing very heavily one-sidedness. I have no problem criticizing Israel. If you watch my videos, you'll see I criticize Israel as well. But this is one-sidedness in a very extreme way. We'll go all the way to the end to see how extreme. But let's go over it.
Well, I've had a couple of conversations this week from, I suppose you'd have to say, different opposing sides of this very serious matter.
I didn't see an opposing side. Again, Russell, maybe it's just me. Maybe I missed the other side. But so far, I saw you speaking about it quite in a neutral way, and then bringing this Dr. Gabor Mate to speak, which is, and I didn't see the opposite side. You brought one side. You really should do something about this. This is not right.
Certainly a matter that I consider to be complex, but people on either side sometimes think and directly claim is a simple matter, as a sort of, I suppose, a further indication of how...
Simple matter? Who told you this is a simple matter? Who told you that this is simple? Nobody told you this is simple. This is a very complex matter.
Polarizing this matter is. The first of the conversations that took place on my podcast, Under the Skin, is with Dr. Gabor Mate, the therapist and writer, physician, and I would say sort of modern day shaman. But furthermore, and significantly with regards to this matter, he is a Holocaust survivor. Many of his family members were killed in the Holocaust. He had...
Because his family, I'm guessing here, this might not be right. My father is also a Holocaust survivor from Hungary, so I know a little bit about this story. And the chances are that his family got sent to Auschwitz was because they listened to a guy called Israel Kastner, which told them that it's safe, that they can stay in Hungary, that nothing is going to happen to them, that the Allies are already on the way to bomb all the trains that lead to the concentration camps, and they don't need to worry. And so they listened to him, and they stayed in Hungary and got sent to Auschwitz. And my grandparents did not listen to him, and they left for Israel in the early 40s, late 30s, early 40s, and they survived. That's why they survived, because they did not listen to Israel Kastner, and they did not stay in Hungary. They left the country, and they said, you can trust the Christians here if you want. The Europeans, we don't trust them anymore, and we're going to Israel. And that's how they survived. Yeah, that's the only reason they survived. And my father
say about
and me. That's why I exist as well.
The situation in Israel now is one of the most beautiful, profound, and effective things I've ever seen anybody say about this conflict, and I fail to see how anybody could. I think anybody who sees it will be deeply moved by Gabor Mate's wisdom and truth, his direct
wisdom and truth. I hope that after you see this, you'll see how confused Russell is. Russell, you're so confused. You know, if you're this confused about the subject, maybe you shouldn't deal with it. Maybe you should deal with other stuff that you're less confused about. Yeah?
And his passion and his compassion.
Compassion for whom? No compassion for Israeli people, I can tell you that. Zero compassion for Israeli people. His compassion is only for the Palestinians. Only. Yeah? I'm also very impressed at his passion.
This is one of the issues.
Okay, so I want to jump fast forward here because I'm not going to go over everything he said. Okay, let's start here.
Local population. You couldn't. There was a Zionist slogan called "A land without a people for a people without a land," but there was no there was no land without a people. There was people living there who'd been living there for hundreds and years or even longer. As a matter of fact, if you want to hear something real.
Okay, so here he says that we are actually cousins, that the Jews stayed in the land for a long time, and after all the different empires that ruled it, many of them converted to Islam, and that is true. When you do genetic testing, many of the Palestinians have 30% Jewish blood according to DNA testing. But I want to show you here, there was a saying that said land without a people for a people without a land, which wasn't exactly true. It wasn't totally untrue because the land wasn't filled with people. It was quite a difficult land. It was with swamps and malaria and a lot of sickness and desert and heat and dirt. You can check out Mark Twain's take on Israel when he visited there, and he didn't like it at all. So this is a picture of the old Yeshuv. This is Jewish people in the Wailing Wall. This is around the 19th, early 19th, late 18th century. Yeah, and you can see more photos here from that time. Yeah, these are all Jews. 1895, 1800s. Yeah, so you can see here the Jews did live in the land. Okay, so it's true that also Palestinians lived there. It's Arabs, of course, it's true because we'll see soon we had trouble with them all the time. Okay, so let's continue to the next point. So it's true that there were Arabs there, but there were also Jews. It wasn't like there were no Jews in the land, and Jews just came in and took over. It wasn't even like that, especially not at that time. Let's go to the next point he makes.
Expelling the local population, which is what they did in 1947, beginning in 1940.
Okay, so now he says that, we'll go a bit back.
Oppressing and expelling the local population, which is what they did in 1947.
They did not do that in 1947. Israel was not a country yet in 1947. The British were there in 1947. How could Israel possibly expel people from their homes and do all these things you say when it didn't exist yet in 1947? But what did exist? And I went over it in the other video that I made, so you can see it in the video for Israeli right voters. I talk about it there, but I'll go over it again. So this is the Jaffa Riots in 2021 where Arabs massacred Jews. This is the 1929 riots where Arabs massacred Jews. This is the 1936 to 1939 Arab revolt in Palestine where Arabs massacred Jews. Yeah? This is 1947, and this is the United Nations Partition plan for Palestine. This is the plan that the United Nations offered the Arabs and the Jews to divide the land. The Jews agreed, the Arabs disagreed. Yeah? And this is 1948, the Arab-Israeli war. Okay? Now, in 1948, it is true, and many Arabs left Israel because the Arab armies told them, leave, we're going to conquer the land, and then you can come back to your homes. So many of them left because of that, but not all of them. Many of them escaped because they were scared of what the Jews will do to them because of stories that they heard. And many of them got evicted. It's true, many of them got evicted. All in all, they say the numbers are around 750,000 of Arab Palestinians that got evicted from during the Independence War. But all in all, there's about 750,000 Jews that got evicted from their homes in Arab nations after Israel was formed. So, you know, this is how the world works. There are displaced people after wars all over the world, not just Palestinians. It's something that happens. It was a war. Many people left by themselves. Many people escaped because they feared, and many people got evicted. Yeah, but that also happened to Jews in Arab countries. So here he's very one-sided. It's as if Israel just decided to evict all the Palestinians and take over the land. No, there was a partition plan by the United Nations. The Arabs did not accept it. The Jews did. And they opened a war on Israel after it declared independence. Now I want to ask this Dr. Gabor. So let's suppose in 1948 that the Arabs won, not the Jews. Yeah, that the Arabs won the war. What do you think the Arabs would do to the Jews? Would they just let them stay? I think they would, at best, kick them out, and at worst, massacre them. That's what would have happened. But of course, he doesn't talk about that. We had to win. We had no choice. If we had lost, we would have been finished. That's it. We would have been finished, and you would have been finished as well, by the way, my friend. Because the only reason you can live your moral life the way you see it and go to sleep at night feeling good with yourself is because Israel exists for you as a Jew, because Israel exists. Yeah? And he tells a story here about how his friend told other kids in Hungary not to bother him because he's a Jew, because it's not his fault that he's a Jew. Yeah, that being a Jew is a condition, but it's not his fault. He tells this story. This anti-Semitism is all over, and the only thing that protects you today is Israel. But you don't have to admit it. We're here for you as well, whether you admit it or not. It's fine. Okay, so let's see what he says.
Beginning in 1947.
With the partition,
all,
and they refused.
Empire protection, you know. But they did this, and then in 1948, Israeli historians.
Okay, there was a war, and you can bring Israeli historians. There are many historians from the left, and I already said, yes, many Arabs were evicted. Many Jews were evicted as well from Arab countries after that war. Yeah, nobody talks about them. It's about an equal number on both sides. It was a war. If Israel had lost, we would have been destroyed. We would have been eradicated. We would have been evicted. We would have gone swimming with the fishes. Yes, Gabon? And you can admit that or not. Yeah, you are one of those people that romanticize the Arab culture and the Arab people. So they can do no wrong. Also, they're victims in your eyes, so they can do no wrong. Also, they are children in your eyes, so they can do no wrong. It's the same thing over and over with all of those. Let's go to the next point. Yeah.
It couldn't have been in any other way. Because again, you couldn't have created that exclusive Jewish state without oppressing or expelling the local population. It's the longest ethnic cleansing operation in the 20th and 21st centuries. It's still...
This guy, the Israeli government, should sue him for libel. Yeah? Genocide? The Palestinian population tripled itself, more than tripled itself actually. In Gaza, it tripled itself. In the West Bank, it more than tripled itself since 1948. Yeah, the Palestinian population is growing more than European countries. Yeah, it's growing faster than America. Yeah, so how can this guy sit there and say the word genocide where his people were genocide? 6 million of them. Where he sits, I think he lives in Canada, I'm not sure about that, but if he does, he lives in a country that genocide their indigenous people, like really did. And he's using this word on a country that tripled itself, on a people that tripled themselves. They were from 700,000, there's almost 4 million of them now in the West Bank and Gaza, and in Israel, 2 million more. So, unless, maybe I don't know the definition of genocide. Maybe the definition of genocide is helping people repopulate or grow. Maybe that's the definition. If that's the definition, that's fine. But if it means killing people to make them disappear, then this is not what's happening, and the numbers prove that. And the Israeli government should sue this guy. They really should. I wish I had the power to do that, but I don't, and I don't sue people either. As far as I'm concerned, people can say whatever they want, and you deal with bad ideas with good ideas. Let's continue to the next point.
There were free elections in Gaza, monitored by international community.
So now he's talking about Gaza after Israel left, and why Israel is wrong about isolating Gaza and not and closing the borders with Gaza. So he's talking about the elections.
They were declared to be the freest elections ever held in the Arab world, and Hamas happened to win.
So he's saying here that there were free elections, which is great, yeah, and I agree. It was, I don't know how free they were, but yeah, they were fair, I guess. And the people in Gaza chose a terror organization that on its flag it says Israel needs to be destroyed. So Gabon, think a second. You're a doctor, you're a philosopher, a modern shaman, yeah? Your neighbors vote democratically for a party that part of its political agenda is killing you. That's part of its political agenda, it's killing you. And now just because they got elected democratically, I'm supposed to accept that. You do know that Hitler got elected democratically as well, right? So I guess for you, Hitler being the Chancellor of Germany was legitimate because he got voted in democratically. That's the logic, so I guess, yeah. So I guess that if Hamas got voted in democratically, we should just accept a terrorist organization that calls out for our death. We should just accept it because they were elected democratically. No, good for you. You elected who you wanted. Now suffer the consequences. That's how it works with adults, my friend. But you don't see them as adults. You see them as victims, so they can do whatever they want. No accountability.
And when Hamas won that election, Israel and the United States immediately organized a military coup against them.
Wrong. Israel did not immediately organize a military coup against them. Israel left the Gaza Strip leaving all the settlements intact. They didn't destroy anything, which means they left agricultural, farming, and everything ready to go, which means Hamas could have gone in, and instead of building weapons and missiles, they could have advanced their farming, their agriculture, and started giving the people in Gaza a good life like they were voted to do in a democratic election. They weren't voted to go into war with Israel. They were voted to give a better life to the people in Gaza. And what they decided to do, Gabon, is destroy the settlements, yeah, because they are not going to take Israeli fruits, destroy everything, and start firing rockets from those settlements. But he will never say that. Why? I don't know why. I really don't know why. I guess because if he says that Israel can't be the bad guy, and that destroys his whole narrative, and this narrative is part of his career. Yeah, but it looks like you're doing well for yourself anyway, so you can just move on.
Which Hamas defeated. For which the punishment...
Look, he's proud of Hamas. He's like romanticizing Hamas, yeah? Unbelievable. Like, do you know what will happen to you if you go into Gaza, Gabon? Do you know what will happen to you as a Jew if you go into Gaza today? Oh my God, I don't even want to think about it.
And was this blockade that deprives Hamas of, not Hamas, but Gaza of food.
Wrong. Every day, yeah. Also during the operation in Gaza, trucks go through every day from Israel to Gaza with fruits, with food, with water, with medical supplies, with everything they need, except stuff that can be made into weapons or into building tunnels. So there was a little problem with road material for building houses and that type of stuff because they were using the materials to build tunnels. So Israel stopped allowing that material to come in, but now that material comes in as well because they are building houses. We give them fuel. Their energy comes from Israel. All these things you're saying are not true. How can you say them with a straight face? I don't understand. Like, I truly don't.
Of medical supplies, of sufficient water. I could go on and on and on and on.
You can lie on and on and on and on. Now, can more food, more water, more electricity, more of everything go into Gaza? Yes, of course. They have about 6 or 8 hours of electricity a day, and then it goes down. The Palestinians also didn't pay for the electricity that they're using. Of course, they don't need to pay for the electricity that other people are giving them. Everything needs to be free for them. So, of course, more can come in, but they're ruled by a terrorist organization. You are aware of them. You're not willing to talk about that at all. Like, you're just romanticizing Hamas. So, you're more than welcome to join them. I think they're going to like you. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you'll have a great time there. Okay.
And then you have this conflict. And then every time there's a conflict, Israel mows the lawn. That's the expression they use. You know what they call it? They call it mowing the lawn.
I've never heard that expression in my life. I have never heard that expression in my life, mowing the lawn. Never heard it. Yeah?
Well,
I did hear politicians say many times that Ismail Haniyeh, the head of Hamas, has 48 hours to live, and Hamas is going to be destroyed after the next rocket, and all those kind of threats that none of them came into fruition. So,
by which they mean the mass murder of Palestinian civilians.
Again, this guy should be sued for libel. He's a liar. He knows he's lying. Look, in the 2014 conflict, I don't remember exactly the numbers. The numbers were quite big, 1,500 Palestinians dead, 500 children, which was horrible. I agree, 500 children, that's horrible. One child is horrible, but I'm not going to use children's blood in order to make a point. Yeah. In this conflict in 2021, 250, let's say 300 Palestinians dead, most of them terrorists, 60 children, which again is horrible, 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 and Israel should do everything for it not to happen. But as you can see, Israel is doing everything in its power to decrease the damage in human lives, and you can see it in the numbers. It's right there for you to see if you want to see it. But this guy wants to make Israel look like a Nazi state, and the facts are not going to come in his way. He's a freight train that's going full on, and no facts are going to stand in his way. He's going to break away and ignore any fact in order to make his point. Yeah.
Now, is it true that the Gazans shoot rockets into Israel, killing innocent civilians? Yes, it is.
Oh, he admitted something. Yes, it is. I'll give you 3 guesses which word is going to come next. 3 guesses.
Do I support that? No, I don't.
But, I love this word. But, I love that.
When it comes to the death of innocent civilians, Israel killed 20,000 Lebanese civilians in 1982.
Now he's going to the war in Lebanon just to make his point, yeah, because the numbers in this conflict don't work in his favor. They don't work in his favor because Israel proved that it's doing everything in its power to decrease the number of lives that are being lost. And so he goes back to a war in 1982. This guy is unbelievable. And Well,
using illegal weapons like cluster bombs in a war that had no justification whatsoever.
no justification. If I remember correctly, Lebanon fired rockets at Israel in 1982. Yeah? But of course, that's not a justification for him. For him, Israel should not exist because he never thought Israel should exist. He was never for the Zionist dream. He's not a Zionist, which is fine. You can be a Jew and not a Zionist. It's fine. Yeah, you can be a Jew and believe that Jews should live everywhere in the world and don't necessarily need a country of their own. It's fine.
I could go on and on and on and on.
Okay, let's go to the next point. What was it? Yeah. Okay, this point is quite important.
I was there. Do you remember who Albert Speer was?
Yeah, the architect for the Nazis.
Exactly.
Do I need to say more where he's going with this? Yeah? Okay.
So Speer was a Nazi armaments minister and economics minister and Hitler's personal architect, you know. And he was a war criminal and condemned as such. And he wasn't executed, he spent 40 years in Spandau prison after the war. And he had kind of a transformation. And I read his autobiography. And he said, he was often asked, what did you know? And he said, what I knew wasn't the right question. He was talking about the Nazi crimes, the genocide, the brutality, the war atrocities that the Nazis committed, and specifically the attempted, or the genocide, the murder of the Jewish people. And he said, the question wasn't what I knew, the question is what I could have known if I'd wanted to. He said, because I have plenty of hints that, and he describes, for example, how in one of the armaments factories, he runs across some concentration camp prisoners who were seconded to the factory. And he asked them, would you rather be here or in the camp? And he said, the shock on their faces. And I never asked why you look so shocked with that question. Or at one time, Nazis.
So what he's doing here, he's comparing Israelis to Nazis because they don't want to know what is happening. They don't ask what is happening. They don't really look at what is happening. The Israeli army is killing and genociding Palestinians while the Israelis are sitting in their little bubble, not interested in knowing what is happening. Gabon, let me ask you a question. How many buses did Jews blow up in Germany in the 30s? How many restaurants did Jews blow up in the 30s? How many rockets did Jews throw at Germany during the 30s? How many stabbings were done by Jews against Catholics against Germans in Germany? How many assaults were done by Jews on Germans? How many riots were done by Jews in Germany during the 30s, 20s, whenever before the Holocaust? How many? What reason was there for the Germans to genocide the Jews, to start the Holocaust? What reason was there? Were the Jews violent in any way in Germany? How much did the Jews contribute to Germany? Did the Jews fight in World War I in the German army? Yes, they have. Were the Jews did the Jews contribute to culture, to art, to science, to everything in Germany? Yes, they have. Don't forget, Einstein was German. Yeah? So what was the reason for the Germans to be so defensive against the Jews? There was no reason. It was pure hate. Now, the Palestinians, can you say the same thing? No, I've just showed you the whole history. Jaffa Riots, Palestine Riots 21, Arab revolt, the partition that they didn't accept, the war that they started against Israel. Can you really compare? Are you a doctor? A doctor for what are you? A doctor for propaganda and lies? What kind of doctor are you? I don't know. What kind of shaman are you? But you know, I don't expect you to change your mind. You're an old man and you've been doing this career move for a long, long time, and it's been working great for you. So I don't want you to, lose your livelihood. You can keep doing what you're doing. Obviously, there are enough people there who are willing to listen to you. But I really think that what you're doing here is wrong. There are two sides to the story. Israel is not 100% right, and it should deal with the way it solves conflicts, because going only with the army, being the only tool, is not the right way. And the Palestinians are not right as well. And there's enough to criticize them. And you didn't even give one criticism against the Palestinians or Hamas or anything, nothing. It was just one-sided, incredibly one-sided. And Russell Brand did not challenge you in a bit. Yeah? Sorry. So, okay, let's see one more thing, see what he says, one more thing, and... Okay, here we go.
Silence anybody who speaks, Jewish or non-Jewish. And that's, Russell, you know what? There are no two sides.
Here we go. Again with there are no two sides. Now, this is another way to legitimate the reason that he doesn't criticize the Palestinians at all. It's only criticizing Israel, because there are no two sides. Israel needs to apologize for being stronger. Israel needs to apologize for having bomb shelters and alarms and actually protecting its citizens against attacks. Israel needs to apologize that it doesn't just accept being shot rockets at and just take it laying down. It needs to apologize for that. Yeah? You know, I hope you'll never experience again, because in the Holocaust you were a toddler, you were an infant, but still, rockets being shot at you, bus being exploding in your cities, and people getting stabbed, and the whole atmosphere that is happening in Israel. Are the Palestinians the only ones guilty for it? No. Are the Israelis the only one guilty for it? No. Do both people deserve to be in that land? Yes. Can they live together in one country? I don't know. Maybe that's something we'll need to try. Is there a solution, a two-state solution? Yes. Do the Palestinians accept it? So far, no. Did the Palestinians accept any offer that was made to them? No. Did they make any counter offers besides the offer of destroying Israel? No. Do people like you ever criticize their decisions and their error making and their and always taking the opportunity to make a mistake? No, you never criticize them about anything. Yeah? So, you know, it's okay. I guess that these people are important because Israeli people don't really like hearing criticism. And this kind of hard-hitting criticism, well, it doesn't work because they really don't listen to this type of criticism. But I guess it helps this Gabor Mate sleep better at night and feel good about himself. And I guess it makes Russell Brand feel good about himself as well, that he lets different voices be heard on his channel. But Russell, maybe on your podcast, which I don't watch, you've brought another side to this story, another view. But on YouTube, where you post your videos, I haven't seen it. So if you could, please bring another guest that could challenge this guy's views. It'll be very nice and fair and balanced, which is what you say you do. Okay, so again, everybody, thank you for watching this video. I think it was a bit long, but doesn't matter. Not many of you watch my videos anyway, so it's fine. I do it mostly for myself because I really have to say this stuff. So if any of you have anything to say, anything to comment, put it in the comment section. Feel free. I answer the comments either in a video or by writing. And if you like this content, please comment, like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye.